Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the AI Monetization Podcast. I'm Binny, the co-founder of Project Pro. As you're aware, we speak with industry leaders, especially AI leaders, on what kind of tangible business outcomes they are seeing out there with AI. Today, we are honored to have Bo. Bo is the director of data science and generative AI at AT&T. Boaz had some significant experience through a career in data science at HMS, Pepsi, and before that, director of revenue management at Caesars Entertainment. Through his career, Bo was also an entrepreneur. He was a founder of a pricing software company focused on the hotel industry called Boe. Bo, thank you so much for taking time to do this. Welcome to this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Binny. Very glad to be here.
Sure. So, Bo, to begin with, I'm curious. You've had a really nice career, through system optimization and revenue management at Caesars, then being an entrepreneur, being at Pepsi, doing analytics, data science, machine learning, and now Gen AI. Could you maybe help us understand how did you get inspired to go into data science in the beginning, and how did that journey shape?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Binny. And before we dive in, I just want to mention that everything I share today is based on my own experience and opinions. It does not reflect AT&T's views. So
Sure.
to your question, yes, it has been quite a journey. So looking back, I see my fascination with data science really started way back when I was a kid. So I
Mhm.
know it sounds a little bit cliche, but I was coding in basis in Pascal in seventh grade, right?
Wow.
I was just captivated by the power of computers to solve problems, to
Mhm.
organize information, and to create things. So I've always been drawn to quantitative thinking,
Mhm.
and that's the foundation in engineering that stayed with me throughout my early career.
Mhm.
So now let's fast forward to my early 30s, right? So after being working in engineering for a while, I decided to get my MBA. So I think that's a pivotal moment because it exposed me to the business side of the things. So I spent a couple of years in corporate planning functions, and while I was doing quantitative work, I realized that my heart, right, really wanted to dive deeper into data
Mhm.
science. So
Mhm.
want to be more hands-on, to build models and to extract insights. So that's when I made a conscious career switch. I transitioned from corporate planning into hotel revenue management and optimization. So this role was a game changer for me. It allowed me to finally utilize my coding skills, especially Python, and other data science tools to tackle the real world business problems.
Mhm.
I was able to work on forecasting, optimizations, and pricing strategies. It was incredibly rewarding to see how data-driven decisions can impact the bottom line of business. So this experience in revenue management was the gateway to more advanced data science applications. So I started exploring more sophisticated tactics like convolutional neural network or CNNs, auto ML, and of course now generative AI, RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and agents, right? Each step built on the previous ones. And I found myself increasingly drawn, right, to the challenges, opportunities that data science presented.
Mhm.
So I think the common thread, right, throughout my career has been the desire to use data, to understand the world better, and to make better decisions. For those early days of coding to lead data science and AT&T, it's all be driven by the same fundamental curiosity and also a passion for problem solving. So, of course, the ability to learn and adapt is crucial in these fields. So the tools and tactics are consistently evolving. So you have to be a lifelong learner, right, to stay
Mhm.
relevant.
Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting, Bo. You're a very nice career start focused on like the first principles of business, just planning and revenue management, and then from there into data informed decisions to make to build models and such. So since you were doing this stuff way before Gen AI was cool and all that right now, how has that early influence on very first principles, data science foundations, how does that influence the kind of business cases you choose right now, how you decide what goes from POC to production? How does that influence your role currently?
I was working in AI and machine learning techniques long before Gen AI
Yeah,
become the hot topic as it is today,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those early experience was absolutely fundamental in shaping my perspective on AI and its potentials, right? So one of the key things I learned is AI is really not a new thing, right? It has been around for a long time. The real
Hmm.
game changer has been the converge of two critical factors, right? The exponential increase in the compute power and the
Hmm.
development of more sophisticated algorithms, right?
Hmm.
That really go hand in hand, right? If you can have the best compute in the world, but if you don't have the appropriate algorithm to run it efficiently, it's not going to be practical. Think about convolutional neural network, right? For example, even you use today's compute, right? If it's still using the older and more traditional neural network instead of CNN, right? And to do the image recognition, it will be significantly slower and less accurate, right? So, and another thing that I want to share is before we all caught up in the Gen AI hyper, right? It's important to remember that classical AI techniques was already solving a lot of real world problems very efficiently, right?
Hmm.
Forecasting is a perfect example. So, because it's near and dear to my heart because we have been using time series analysis and feature engineering to build forecasting models for years,
Hmm.
and they can be incredibly accurate. So
Hmm.
I did a lot of that in both the hospitality industry and the retail
Hmm.
industry. Um, so the key here is you need to understand your business to know the
Hmm.
constraints on both the supply side and the demand side, right? And to identify the triggers that you can pull or to predict. For example, in hospitality in Las Vegas, let's say, right? We need to know about what are the big conventions we have or expense events we have. So that
Hmm.
allow you to make very accurate forecasting and drive out the revenue accordingly, right? Also in the retail industry, in the retail grocery stores, right? You have to understand the impact of the back to school promotions and what you can do to do it. For example, you can use the promotional items like end cap or the gondolas, right? Which is to temporarily boost your supply, right? This is also very crucial for accuracy forecasting.
Hmm.
So I would say my early experience taught me really AI is not just about the latest and greatest technology. It's about
Hmm.
really understand the business problem. You are going to solve the problem and you're going to choose the right tools for the job, right? And sometimes a simple fine-tuned classical AI model is good. It's going to be effective and going to be efficient, and it's going to be better than a complex Gen AI solution. So the choose is really what problem you are going to solve, what ROI you are going to have, and then find the best tool to do it.
And that's very interesting, Bo. And so given that kind of mindset, right? And given that
Mm-hmm.
literally on a weekly basis, we see new models and new tools, new algorithms coming out with Gen AI. So given a business case, what filters do you use to make sure you're not just picking technology for technology's sake for a business case? How do you map that you're picking the right tools or techniques to solve a business problem?
So I touched a little bit about ROI, and let's look into it more, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I'm a strong believer. Everything comes down to the ROI because I was a finance guy before in the corporate
Yeah,
planning, right?
yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think that's the fundamental primary criteria, and it always should be. Whether we're talking about GenAI or any other new technologies or any technological advancements, right? We can't really
Hmm.
treat those technology as shining toys to show off, right? We have to focus on what we can use them to solve the problems and drive
Hmm.
tangible business values. So again, to solve real world problems and drive tangible business values.
Hmm.
So I can share some examples. For example,
Hmm.
cost saving. Cost saving, in my opinion, is one of the easiest way to demonstrate ROI. right?
Hmm.
Think back to my days at Caesars. That's about 10 years ago. So I drove the modernization effort to replace static slide stacks with interactive Tableau dashboards. That was 10 years ago, right? The simple change immediately saved hundreds of hours of our analyst teams, right?
Hmm.
And it allowed leaders to get answers almost instantly. And
Hmm.
also, I modernized the budget consolidation process by using Python to read the data by Excel and to automate the process. Again, that saved hundreds of hours. Not to mention elimination the frustration of Excel if Excel crash when you press F9 after waiting for 100 hours for data to refresh.
Yeah.
If you have been working
Right.
in the finance field, you know exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I would say later on, I was championing the adoption of AutoML, automatic machine learning capability like data robots, H2O driverless AI. Those tools allow me to get a reasonable good machine learning models within an hour compared to the old days, which it takes a data scientist a few days, if not weeks, to do the model cleansing, data cleansing, feature engineering, and experiment with data with different methods, right? So in my opinion, again, back to ROI, GenAI is no different, right? Company needs to have a concrete ROI numbers to justify the investment. They need to estimate how much savings we can potentially get and realize,
Hmm.
right? And compare that with the cost of development, deployment, and operating the AI systems. So this includes everything, excuse me, everything from the infrastructure cost, the cost of training and maintain the models. So that's why I would say I'm always push my team and to
Hmm.
think about the business impact first, right? And then
Hmm.
figure out how AI can help us achieve the goal. And it's not the other way around, right? It's not about, okay, finding the coolest AI applications that can try to find a business problem to solve. That's
Yeah.
wrong. In my opinion, ROI is the most important part. And it's about identifying the business problems first and use AI, right, as a tool to address those problems. So that can ensure us we're always focused on delivery measurable values, that we're not just chasing the latest technology trend.
Makes sense. Well said. And where do you see some of the short-term and medium-term monetization opportunities for AI inside the enterprise? In what kind of use cases? Is it customer-facing, internal productivity, or whole new business models? I know you mentioned cost savings, but where else do you see monetization opportunities?
That's a very very, very, very good question. Again, I'm here to share my personal view, and that does
Yeah,
not represent AT&T, right?
yeah.
So that's actually something I've been thinking about a lot, right? In my opinion, the biggest near-term monetization and opportunity, right, for GenAI in
Hmm.
enterprise, I think is the internal productivity, the cost saving to some degree. I talk about, but I think
Hmm.
it's really productivity, right? There are because there was just so many repetitive tasks that can be automated, and GenAI is uniquely precision, right, to tackle those tasks.
Hmm.
Let's dial back maybe for 5 years. So
Hmm.
think about the robotic, right? RPA, the robotic process automation. RPA has been successful in automating those simple, repetitive works, right?
Hmm.
Now, think about how AI can be utilized to automate those more complex, repetitive tasks than RPA can't handle. We used to have professional drivers, and then Uber and Lyft came along and make it possible for almost everyone to become a driver, right?
Hmm.
And now with the autopilot technology, even that job is becoming easier, right?
Hmm.
I would say a similar concept can be applied to the call centers. I believe that within a few years, maybe 5, maybe 3, but within a few years, with just a few hours of trainings, almost everyone could be a great call center agent. And thanks to the real-time agent assist tools powered by GenAI, right? My belief is as long as you have a good heart to serve your customers, AI can
Hmm.
handle much of the heavy lifting work. Another opportunity, I think, is the customer-facing applications, right? GenAI can definitely help us improve the customer experience. Let's think back how we did the customer promotion in the hotel and gaming industry.
Hmm.
We collect lots of data. We collect tons of data from different sources. What games, casino games people played, right? What
Hmm.
food they prefer, what type of
Hmm.
hotel rooms they like, right? And then we can send those customized and targeted offers to invite them back. This is either new. It's something we've been doing at least 10 years ago when I was in Caesars, right? So now
Hmm.
GenAI, we can do even more thoroughly with all those language processing capabilities.
Hmm.
And also, last but not least, let's consider the call transcripts, right? In my opinion, that's really a gold mine of information that can help us understand our customers,
Hmm.
what they are complaining about, what they are happy with, and how they can better define our products and solve their problems. As one of our leaders mentioned, right? He said, customer rarely call you to say thank you. Rarely,
Right.
right? They call us because they have a problem and want us to solve the problems. So if the
Hmm.
agents can solve those problems within minutes or seconds by leveraging Gen AI tools,
Yeah.
drawing on the prior interactions with the customer and our network and operation data, and so we'll be able to run and we're able to turn an angry customers into a happy one, right? In
Hmm.
just a
Hmm.
matter of minutes. And that
Hmm.
happy customers will become our ambassadors for the
Hmm.
brand.
Hmm. That's very well said, Bo. On your LinkedIn profile, I noticed you're a very active vibe coder. You've been running experiments with Cursor and I noticed with, I guess, Copilot and all of that stuff, right? Uh, and I saw all of the productivity gains, the gains that you had mentioned right there. How do you think that's going to transform software engineering or software development as a field? Do you think we'll be able to produce 10x more applications? Or what do you think is going to happen?
That's an excellent question. So
Hmm.
I might be biased, but
Sure.
my view is
Hmm.
I would say I'm 90% pro vibe coding or context-based coding and
Hmm.
10% traditional coding. And the
Hmm.
reason why is I'm a true believer that vibe coding can drive up the productivity of coding.
Hmm.
I would just use myself for example, right? I've been coding, as I say, since I was a seventh grader. But
Hmm.
now in my daily job, I would say I spend less than 10% of time coding.
Hmm.
That does not mean I cannot code because I have the idea. I know exactly how to define a system end to end, right, from the beginning
Hmm.
all the way to the end. How to integrate the front end, the back end, the database, the data science part. But the issue is I cannot memorize all the syntax. I would say 5 years ago, if I
Hmm.
really need to do the coding myself, I need to go and Google it, go to overstack, right? Let's say to find the examples and copy examples, make the changes, do the debugging, make sure it
Yeah.
works, and do the integration. It is
Hmm.
very time consuming. But
Hmm.
right now with vibe coding, as long as I have had the idea,
Hmm.
I plan for the idea ahead of time, and
Hmm.
then ask the vibe coding tools to
Hmm.
execute the plan one at a
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Of course, you will make mistakes, right? You will
Hmm.
make mistakes just like human. We all make mistakes. Once they
Yeah.
mistake, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Let's just
Yeah.
correct those mistakes, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes need you to give them some guidance to make sure it codes for you, right?
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think right now the vibe coding tools they are at least at the level of a junior software developer who
Hmm.
recently graduated from college, right?
Hmm.
If you give them enough guidance, they can do it
Hmm.
for you.
Yeah.
But again, this is just my personal view, right? At the work, we have already implemented vibe coding to a certain degree, not
Yeah.
as much as what I mentioned in my personal projects. And
Yeah.
then here you can see some stats, right?
Yeah.
I believe that 2 or 3 months ago, when the CEO of Facebook and CEO of Microsoft, they talk about vibe coding, the CEO of Microsoft mentioned that roughly 30% of the codes in Microsoft is generated by vibe coding or GenAI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's definitely
Hmm.
need a trend, right? So,
Yeah.
and my opinion is we need to embrace the trend because if
Hmm.
we know that the vibe coding tools will become smarter and smarter, and
Hmm.
then it's better for us to learn how to
Hmm.
become project manager or product manager,
Yeah.
whatever the title is, but
Right.
it is crucial important for you for all of us as developers think about how we can utilize this tool to drive up
Yeah.
productivity and make us more effective.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a very good point that you mentioned about trying to think how can you be a product manager? Because with vibe coding, if you can iterate so fast on the functionality, if you have a taste of what the customer wants, then you can contribute to that iteration much faster rather than going and speaking to a product manager as to what the customer wants. That makes a lot of sense. So one question I had, Bo, is again with your personal vibe coding projects, right? As the complexity of the product becomes bigger and bigger, when I do vibe coding myself, I get concerned, which is, let's say the complexity is a certain amount. I'm not too concerned about the code base. But once the complexity starts going up, and I have no idea what's inside the code base, I'm always concerned, okay, how am I ever going to debug this thing if something happens down the line? Does that concern you? How do you think that gets solved?
That's an excellent question. So I have that discussion with my team members as well. And
Yeah.
then again, my opinion might be a little bit biased, might
Hmm.
be a little bit to the pro side, right? Pro
Hmm.
vibe coding side.
Hmm.
And the way how I think about it is just like humans, we make mistakes and
Yeah.
then we correct those mistakes.
Hmm.
Machine make mistakes as well, and then we can utilize vibe coding to generate those task use cases and
Hmm.
use those tasks, for example, unit tasks or end-to-end tasks, integration tasks,
Hmm.
try to catch those mistakes, right?
Hmm.
And then another way to think about it is how many of developers do you think they really love to do documentations? Maybe less than
Nobody.
10%, right?
Nobody.
Most of them, you ask them to do the documentation, they'll say, "Oh, I will do it after I finish all the
Right.
work and then all the development. I will do it later, right?"
Yeah.
But most likely end up with we have very
Yeah.
little documentation.
Mm.
Vibe coding is very good in do the documentation for you. And doing
Mm.
the documentation, sometimes it will capture the mistakes for you as well. Because there were some
Hmm.
inconsistencies, right, between among the development code, the tax case, and documentation. And that's
Hmm.
another way to capture that. My
Hmm.
the way I'm thinking is as the code space become more and more complex, definitely
Hmm.
you have to have some guardrail. You have to have some processes to
Hmm.
ensure that the codes generated by vibe coding is fully vetted, right?
Hmm.
Before go to the from sandbox to task environment and to staging environment to production environment. You have
Hmm.
to have those stage guide to make
Hmm.
sure that to ensure enough quality controls. But
Hmm.
that is not an excuse not to use vibe coding, right? So
Hmm.
my opinion is we can set up the rules to make sure that to eliminate the hallucination or the mistakes made by the vibe coding while we can keep the same level of quality codes developed
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
by our human developers.
That's very encouraging to hear. Um, and just coming back to enterprise AI, Bo, um, you've probably seen all these reports that say only that 90% of AI projects go into production and stuff like that. Uh, what patterns have you seen between the projects that go into production and the ones that just stay as POC and don't make it to production? What are some best practices or guidance you have for these AI POCs to go live into production?
That's a very good question. Let me
Mhm.
clarify this a little bit. Are you
Yeah.
thinking about it from the governance perspective, or are you thinking about it from the technologies perspective? Like what projects or GenAI solutions could be easier to monetize?
Um, Both actually. I mean, both from a the tech perspective and the business slash governance perspective. Both of that,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah. What about us? Let me start with the governance part, right? So,
Hmm.
the experimentation with GenAI is incredibly exciting, right?
Yeah.
So, and in the corporate settings, and we just can't keep building the POCs endlessly, right?
Right.
We need a structured way to balance the innovation between the governance, the compliance, and the cost discipline.
Hmm.
So let's look at
Hmm.
one by one, right? First, let's think about the tension itself, right? So I call it is a push and a pull between the desire to export the new technologies and the need to manage the risks and the control the cost, right? So the key is to create a framework, right? I really allow for safe experimentation while ensuring that we are not just putting the enterprise at risk, right? The approach is using, for example, I think, right, to use a sandbox environment for pilots, and with those clear success metrics defined before scaling, right? And that will allow the team to experiment those GenAI without impacting the production system or expose any sensitive data. Before we moving the project out of the sandbox, we need to have a very, very clear understanding of its potential business impact and a plan for how we're going to scale, right? Of course, the governance, the compliance are crucial, right? We need to apply the data classification rules to ensure that sensitive information such as PII, right, is not going to be used in the open environment, right? So we also need to ensure that our AI projects align very well with the enterprise risk frameworks, including legals, regulations, ethical consideration, and many other things, right? So, and cost is a very important consideration as well. And then definitely you don't want to see $1 million bill, right? Just tied to a project you have, right? So I would say GenAI model can be very, very expensive and to train and to run. So we need to be mindful of our spending, and we need to start small and scale smart, right? To monitor tokens and compute consumptions real time, right? And then we can definitely set up some FinOps dashboard to monitor the token, the cost, and we can also think about whether we can use, for example, Llama 3 or some small language models to replace the commercial models, right? That's another cost to think about. So I would say, generally speaking, I would say it's very, very important to strike a balance, right? Between like encouraging innovation and to enforce disciplines, right? So we encourage innovation sprints, right? Where teams can carry out new ideas very, very quickly, and also to need to enforce stage gate process before enterprise throws off, right? So we need to communicate, right, to the business unit stakeholders, and that experiments is welcome, but we really need to enforce some, for example, compliance sign-off and financial justification in order to move a project from POC into the production pipeline.
Got it. So in such a very dynamic environment, Bo, where so many different skill sets are needed, right? For like a aspiring data scientist or a data professional, what kind of career skill sets should they be ready with apart from the typical technical tools that they need to know?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the two most critical skills, I think, right, beyond the technical tools, I think is understand the business and be a storyteller, right? So let me first elaborate. We absolutely have to understand the business. So you can definitely be the best data scientist in the world and with all those expertise in the knowledge in the machine learning algorithm codings, and so you name it, right? But you might not be able to deliver real values if you don't understand the business. You really, in my opinion, you need to understand the challenges the business is facing, the opportunity that exists, and also how AI, right, can be used to address those challenges and capitalize on those opportunities, right? This means spending time talking to the business stakeholders, understanding their pain points, right, and learn about their goals. So it means being curious and ask questions. It means going beyond the data, understand the underlying dynamic of the business. Again, that ties to the ROI, that ties to the metrics, the KPIs, right? If you solve your business clients or business stakeholders' problem, and then they're going to adopt your solution. Second, right, you have to be a good storyteller. Data scientists often work with complex data and building sophisticated models, right? But they need to be able to communicate the findings in a way that is clear, that is concise and compelling, right? They need to be able to tell a story with the data, to explain what the data really means, and to persuade others to take actions based on their insights. So this could means being able to visualize data effectively, to write clear and concise reports, and present the findings in a way that resonates with a non-technical audience. Let me emphasize that. Resonate with a non-technical audience. Because what I think is what, for example, resonate with a CEO might not be resonate with a data scientist and
Hmm.
vice versa, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it's important to be able to tailor your communication to the specific audience you are
Hmm.
addressing, right? So that's why, in my opinion, in summary, right, to contribute to the AI monetization and data professionals, data scientists, right, need to be more than just a technical expert. They need to be business savvy and be effective communicators. They need to
Yeah.
understand the problems, and they need to tell the story with the data and be able to persuade others to take actions based on their insights.
Hmm. Got it. And as a AI leader, what would you say are the biggest problems or challenges that you face that you wish somebody had solved it for you, or there were solutions available today, like burning your top two burning problems that you would say?
Well, I consider our organization as a problem solver for our business unit clients, not
Hmm.
the other way around. So
Hmm.
generally
Hmm.
speaking, we don't have lots of problems. And generally speaking is when we have a problems, we think about what is the solution. And
Hmm.
I heard, and I also believe that sometimes it's define the problem very precisely that solve maybe 80 or 90% of the problem. So
Hmm.
do you have any specific, for example, problems
Sure.
other peers, let's say they are facing in the data science, or you want me to elaborate? Uh,
So, for example, Bo, for example, when you say, let's say something like AI adoption, is that a
mhm.
challenge, which is, use cases are built, it's put out there, but making sure that people understand how to use it, there are quick helps available, there's some analytics to monitor what's happening. So is that a challenge at all currently, or it's too early for that?
That's an excellent question, and I
Okay.
need to brag a little bit. It's not a problem
Okay.
in AT&T. So
Okay.
let me tell you
Uh-huh.
why, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
um, first is we have our world famous Ask AT&T platform. It was
Mhm.
set up roughly 2 years ago. It's a fantastic example of how AI can drive significant ROI at scale, right? This platform has been delivering substantial values to the companies, right?
Mhm.
So think about it, it helped, for example, optimize the routes, our technicians and in the truck to serve more customers and handle their repairs with less fuel, right? Also, it
Yeah.
helped to recognize and block fraud and protect our customers and our companies from the loss in the real time, right? So,
Mhm.
and also, I also mentioned that I've been working in the call center area, right? I've
Yeah.
been seeing lots of impact, how they are impacting our call centers, this
Mhm.
area. Um, we are really seeing some promising results.
Mhm.
For example, between a call um, between the customer and the agents, right? Between after this is right complete, right? Our AI system can automatically generate a summary for the conversation that
Mhm.
save the agents um, significant time to summarize
Mhm.
the conversation,
Mhm.
and especially and it was previous to and also they can use that time to serve our customer better,
Mhm.
right? My point is we have been we have been doing that for 2 years,
Mhm.
and we have delivered genuine ROIs to the business.
Mhm.
We have lots of business unit benefits, right? So we're
Mhm.
able to persuade our BU leaders that
Mhm.
GenAI is not a toy, it's not a shiny
Yeah.
toy, but instead it solve real world business problems and be able to generate business benefits. In
Yeah.
that case, based on those successful stories and successful use cases, we're able to
Mhm.
deliver more. And they have trust in us to task us to deliver more business unit benefit to them.
Mhm. That's very, very encouraging to hear. Thank you. Bo, this has been very insightful. Really appreciate you taking time to do this. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure. Glad to be here. Thank you.